PCN is brought to you in part by the following underwriters.
Hi, and welcome to PACTV Community News. I'm Kim Mio, and I'm here with Brian Sullivan. This week on our show, we take you to a new learning center in Pembroke, and we visit Plymouth's Antiquarian Society to learn about their 1620 pageant costume exhibit.
PCN takes you to a new coffee house and open mic venue in Duxbury, and we learn about a proposed dog park coming to Kingston.
Doctor's Orders brings us healthy aging information from Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital, and Pet Health brings us to a new veterinarian business in Kingston to learn about what a new pet needs.
Town Talk is from Plymouth, and we start tonight in Duxbury with a new music venue. What exactly is a Tuneful Brew? Actually, it's a coffee house that the First Parish Church in Duxbury will be running on the first Friday of every month until the start of next summer. We were there for the opening night and enjoyed more than just a cup of coffee. I was there to get the story. Friday, September 9th marked a pretty historic occasion for the First Parish Church in Duxbury.
It's our first coffee house ever. Our church goes back to 1632. So I can officially say this is the first coffee house in this, with this gathered community since 1632.
Actually, the evening was a little more significant than just that. Not only was there delicious organic coffee being served along with some tasty treats in the kitchen, but on the stage in the church's assembly hall, there would be live music and entertainment on this Friday night. Something the organizers of this event hope will be many more Fridays in the future.
Katie Bach and I, also one of the co-organizers, thought it would be a nice idea to start something up in this area. And Katie had some ties to the UU Church here, and we had some discussions with them, and here we are. So this was the first night.
The night's events will be split into two halves, with the first hour of the show being the open mic portion, and that's where anybody can come in off the street and showcase their talents. The second hour will be the feature performer, and the plan is to do this on the first Friday of every month from now until next summer. And while this one evening could be considered a trial run, if it proves to be successful, that could bode pretty well for the church.
I think the reason we did it was, there were a couple of reasons. One was we are looking to attract younger people into the church, the millennials, who are not excited about church. They don't like the building. The old building with the steeple does not excite them. So to get them in on a Sunday morning, that's a giant leap. But maybe to get them in on a Friday night, have some coffee, listen to some really good music, then they can say, wow, this place is kind of nice.
In the end, good food, coffee, and music were the order of the day. And for the people who put this all together, it would be nice if all of this left a lasting impression for those who attended.
When people leave here, I hope that they have a better understanding and appreciation for the talent that is not nationally known. You know, there's a lot of talent on a local level. And hopefully, you know, we plan to feature some of that from the area, and hopefully the people that go home appreciate that.
Reporting from Duxbury, Brian Sullivan, PACTV Community News.
Earlier this year, the Kingston Board of Selectmen voted to support plans for a fenced-in dog park on the landfill at the transfer station outside of the Kingston Wind Independence easement area. The Boneyard, as the park is to be called, is organized by Friends of Kingston Dogs, and PCN met up with its president at the site for an update and a timeline of the project.
Welcome to the future off-leash dog area park in Kingston, Massachusetts, affectionately called the Boneyard. Right now I'm standing on top of Kingston's capped landfill, which is adjacent to the transfer station in Kingston, which we will be developing into an off-leash dog park for our canine friends, of which there are about 2,000 of them permitted in Kingston, to come run and frolic and socialize, and as well to have their owners and the community of dog lovers and others come and socialize here as well. National studies show that dogs that are exercised are healthier dogs, they're happier dogs, and they're better adjusted dogs. And there's no place in Kingston where you can run your dog not on a leash. In fact, Kingston's leash laws are very restrictive. Even on conservation land, your dog needs to be on a leash. And in my travels with my Bernese Mountain Dog, he needs to run. And we need an open space for him to do that. And he needs a place where he can meet other dogs and socialize with them. So a couple of years ago, we started a study in town to look at various sites that would be useful for a dog park, sites that could be beneficially reused or that were available as open space. And we went through a lengthy 2-year process with dozens of committee meetings, and we settled on this landfill area as a perfect piece of land that's not being used for anything else other than a wind turbine and potentially a future solar park on the other side of the parcel, for an off-leash dog area that's about 1 acre in size. We actually found some private funding from the Stanton Foundation. Mr. Stanton was the president of CBS, and he's passed, and they started a canine program to develop dog parks. So they're actually going to fund 93% of the dog park, the design and the construction, and the Friends of Kingston Dogs are going to operate it and fundraise for the fees and the maintenance that we need to do on it on an annual basis. The town has approved a Community Preservation Act project for us to make the 10% match to the foundation, and currently we're in the design phase. We are just about to release our request for proposals for designer services so that we can design this beautiful space. We'll have a separate space for small dogs and big dogs, and we'll have shade and potable water, and we'll have it be handicapped accessible, and there'll be a parking area, and there'll be benches and things for the dogs to jump on, and we're very excited. We believe that we will have design done by the end of the calendar year, and then come spring, depending on how difficult of a winter it is, we will go for our construction grant and actually construct it. We think it'll only take 4 to 6 weeks to construct. We hope to be open by late spring, and it's going to be a great amenity for our town. And we are also looking for folks to join our Friends of Kingston Dog group that'll help support this organization. You can find us online at friendsofkingstondog.org. You can send us an email at friendsofkingstondog@gmail.com, or you can look for us on Facebook because we're on there. We are an official nonprofit charitable organization, and we're looking for people to provide living wills or challenge grants or direct donations to our dog park. So please come join us and have fun here.
There's a new private elementary school opening up in the town of Pembroke that has a slightly different style for teaching youngsters. Rather than focus on test taking, the students will get a chance to be creative, work outside in nature, and more importantly, learn from failure rather than fear it.
The Athenaeum Learning Center is a new private school in Pembroke. We cater to children in kindergarten through 5th grade this year, but we plan on opening a middle school in the next few years. We started looking for a location back in January, and when we found this spot, we knew that it was perfect. The indoor space is huge. It has beautiful windows. There's lots of space for classrooms, for small group projects, and more importantly, it has about 2 acres in the back that we could rent, and they're just beautiful, and they're perfect for our outdoor classroom and play areas. I looked at the public school systems, which are excellent everywhere on the South Shore, but there's so much emphasis on testing, on worksheets, on rote learning, on teaching kids academic skills before they might even be ready to learn them so that they can pass these tests. I wanted to create an environment where learning is fun, where we have a high bar for academic and intellectual expectations, but we also accept that children develop at their own individual speed, where we meet all of those individual needs, whether a child is advanced or whether they're a little bit on the far end of the bell curve. You know, research shows that this all evens out. You just need to scaffold where the children are in order to meet their academic needs. Students in kindergarten through 2nd grade will be attending our Forest School program, where they will spend about 90 minutes a day on academic work, which if you look at kids that age, that's pretty much all they can handle. And then they will go outdoors for the rest of the day for a program that's rich in play, foreign language. We have a Mandarin language instructor who will be out there with them doing an immersion program. Hands-on learning, cooperation, and these are the skills that children that age need to lay a foundation for stronger academics in later life. And then our 3rd through 5th grade program is in the makerspace. It's a little bit more academic. Those children do go outside for at least an hour every day, but the rest of their day is spent indoors in our classroom We have about 2 acres of land behind our school that we've leased, and it includes a large grassy recess field, but about 1.5 acres of woods. And a landscaper's come in, and he's cut some trails, and he's cut sort of a classroom area for the children to gather, and they will be able to spend most of their days in the outdoors playing and learning with our teachers. We hope to teach kids to love learning, that they can learn anything that they set their mind to.
With the celebration of Plymouth's 400-year anniversary fast approaching, we thought it might be interesting to find out what people in town did for the 300th celebration. Dr. Ann Riley of the Plymouth Antiquarian Society invited us down to the Hedge House Museum to show us one of the dresses women wore for the Pilgrim pageant nearly 100 years ago.
Plymouth Antiquarian Society operates 3 historic house museums. At the Hedge House, in addition to everything that we have on display, we also have a large collection of historic textiles that is in storage. It provides an important research collection to understand how people lived, the clothes they wore. So we have everything from 18th century to the 20th century dresses, shoes, hats, all sorts of accessories. Included in our collection are several costumes that were worn during the tercentenary in Plymouth, which celebrated the 300th anniversary of the Pilgrim landing. And for this commemoration, the state actually orchestrated a large pageant to be enacted on what is now Plymouth's Pilgrim Memorial State Park. And so we have costumes from that pageant that were created for and worn during that pageant. This dress was worn by Sarah Belcher, whose name is actually on the lining of the dress, which is why we know it was hers. And she was from Plymouth, and she played a Pilgrim woman. The Pilgrim Spirit pageant was written and directed by Harvard University professor George Baker, and it was performed 12 times over the summer of 1921. One performance on August 1st was given to President Warren Harding when he came to visit Plymouth for the tercentenary. And it balanced the great spectacle of historic pageants of this period with some deep discussions about the Pilgrim Fathers, their motives for coming, and their theology even. So some of the pageant costumes from the Plymouth Antiquarian Society's collection will be on display at an exhibit at Pilgrim Hall Museum on the tercentenary, which will open October 7th and run through the end of December. And we hope that people will come and will look at the tercentenary as a way to understand Plymouth's 400th anniversary and what we're thinking about and planning for 2020. And I think people will find that a lot of the conversations we're having now, many of the commemorators also had in 1920 and the years leading up to 1920. And so I think it will be a really great way to put today's commemoration in historical perspective.
So Brian, you did this story 100 years ago. What is this pageant? Tell me more about this pageant.
All right, so we're used to going to these things now where it's the reenactors, and there might be 20 people that will do, you know, Pirates Ashore, or they do muskets or something.
The new Plymouth Guard.
The new, all that. So we're used to like smaller groups. And we're looking at those pictures there, and there were thousands of people, and it wasn't just like a small group, and they were coming from all different parts of the town. So they were representing all different parts of the town that had been, like people that had moved in. So there were Italians, there were English, there was all different groups, and they all took part in this.
They all took part in that. That's right. I remember talking to
Ann
and judging, about that.
And judging by the fabric and the thickness of it, they're probably not going to do it again. But boy, it was pretty amazing.
Maybe in the wintertime when you're actually warm and not sweating in those costumes.
Right. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people showed up for it, and it was pretty neat to see that, you know, the town really got so involved in that. And I'll be amazed to see what they do in 4 years from now.
It's great.
This year's annual dog walk was a sight to see. The dog walk is one of the Friends of the Plymouth Pound's major fundraisers every year to help them rescue more dogs and cats and to pay for expenses to their adoption center. PCN stopped in to learn more.
We're at Friends of the Plymouth Pound's annual dog walk at Morton Park. This event has been held for probably the past 25 years in this beautiful park. And it is one of our major fundraisers every year. It helps us to rescue more dogs, more cats, to pay expenses of our adoption center at the Independence Mall, or Kingston Collection. And it is a wonderful time. It's almost like a reunion where people who have adopted from us before, along with new friends, show up with their dogs, and then we have a cookout after the 2-mile walk, and it's a great day. This event started a very long time ago. We actually started probably maybe 30 years ago with the walk itself, and we used to walk Whitehorse Beach. That was a 5-mile walk, and it became a little bit too much for some people, so we decided to move the walk. And when we got permission from the town to come to Morton Park, it was wonderful, because this is a perfect place, and it really helps our organization, which is an all-volunteer organization. We do not receive any funding from the town. We've always been very happy with the number of people that come to this event. People we see year after year after year come. A lot of people, even though their dogs that they may have adopted from us have passed away, they come with their new dogs and keep it going, and they're very good to support us, and we really appreciate their efforts on our behalf. Our raffle is one of the biggest raffles that we do all year, and people really love it, because almost everyone who buys a ticket goes home with a prize. There's something for everyone on that table. Friends of the Plymouth Pound is always accepting volunteers. We are all volunteers, and we've had so many wonderful volunteers over the years, but we always look for new people to come and help us. They can help with the cats at the adoption center. They could foster dogs. They could help with our fundraising. There's a lot of things to do, so we would appreciate more help.
The turnout is great. I love seeing all the old dogs and seeing them with their new families, all happy and loved. And it's really great to see after all the hard work that FPP does. I've been volunteering for Friends of Plymouth Pound since 2002. I've adopted 2 dogs and a cat through them, and it's just wonderful to see these abandoned and sometimes abused animals go to loving homes. It's really wonderful.
I am a supporter of the Friends. I love what they do. I think it just strengthens the fiber of the community by placing animals that need homes and making people realize that foster animals are great pets. You don't have to buy a dog at the pet store, a pedigree puppy. You can get the best animals. The dogs I fostered and had are great, and I can't say enough about encouraging everybody to do the same thing. You'll be really happy.
Doctor's Orders brings us to Duxbury Village to learn more about healthy aging with BID geriatric specialist.
Hi, I'm Debbie Kylander, and I'm here to talk to you guys today about healthy aging and wellness with PCN's Doctor's Orders. So I always get a lot of questions about healthy aging and what kinds of things can we do to live a better, healthy lives as we get older. Classic things that we always hear about are increased exercise and eating better. But one of the things that I really want to talk about is just how important it is to feel well, and that wellness can come from so many different areas. One of the questions I ask people when I see them is a wellness question. I say, hey, if you had to say today how well you feel and give it a number on a scale from 0 to 10, with 0 being miserable and 10 being amazing, where would you put yourself in terms of how well you feel? Some people say, you mean physically? And I say, no. And they say, emotionally? I say, no. I said, the whole package, how well you feel. And people will tell me, well, I feel like an 8. Some people will say, no, I feel more like a 3. But the biggest question is, what can we do to get you closer to a 10? And being closer to a 10 isn't necessarily a pill or a surgery. Sometimes it can just be, well, I'm really lonely. I wish I had someone to come and talk with me. Or I wish I could get out more. I'd love to see the beach. Or I think I'm eating a little bit too much ice cream. What are your recommendations for eating better? And so wellness is really an individual thing. And asking this question, and sometimes you can ask it of yourself, hey, what number would I give myself today? Would I give myself a 3? And if I'm a 3, why am I so down today? What can I do to feel better? Or if you're a 9, that's pretty good. And maybe the other things you were worrying about aren't such a big deal. So ask yourself every day, Where am I on my wellness scale, and what can I do to feel better? Thanks for watching. This has been PCN's Doctor's Orders.
Our pet health segment brings us to Morningstar Animal Hospital in Kingston for information on why it's important to take your pet to a vet, and we'll get some tips that will help make the visit go well.
We're here to talk to you today about why you should take your cat to the vet. A lot of people think because their cats don't go outside and they appear to be perfectly fine that they don't need to go to the vet. That's actually not the case. Not going outside is great. It keeps them safe from cars, coyotes, etc., but it doesn't keep them safe from internal disease. And they do tend to hide internal disease very well because in the wild, if they show it, they will be eaten by someone else. So they hide their disease until they pretty much absolutely can't anymore. Taking them in regularly for their annual checkups, we are able to detect problems early on so that we can treat them and help them not become a big thing. So a basic physical exam, we check I always start up here, check their teeth. Her teeth are beautiful. And make sure their eyes are nice and clear. Check the ears, just like when your kids go to the pediatrician, everybody gets their ears checked. And they can have mites, they can have infections. Mites are usually more of an outdoor cat thing, but infections anybody can get. Her ears are beautiful. Her thyroid is nice, normal size. And we can check her heart for any murmurs or abnormal beats. And her lungs sound very good as well. And I know one of the barriers sometimes is getting your cat in that carrier. If you get a carrier with the top that can come off versus the ones with just the front door that you have to stuff them in, that's helpful. You can try some, there are over-the-counter cat pheromones that help them to calm down, so those are also helpful. Feeling for any abnormalities in her belly. All her organs are normal size and shape. She's not painful. You can tell she's very relaxed. Her pulses feel good. She's got a beautiful fur coat. She likes her butt scratched. Her joints, her muscles are good. She's a little overweight. But I think Chantel already knew that. Her joints are in good shape. And then I like to check the belly also because sometimes they lick their belly because of stress or allergies, but she's got all her fur on her belly. So she gets a clean bill of health, and the only way to know if your cat will is to take him into the vet.
For Town Talk today, we have Melissa Reege, the Plymouth Town Manager. Welcome to the set.
Thank you.
We have lots to talk about today. Let's start with the Friends of the Manomet Youth Center. They've done a lot of stuff. We've done a story about their renovations and what's going on there.
You know, they've done a lot for the community, particularly that Manomet Youth Center was in jeopardy. The enrollment was really down, and they've been able to raise funds, make the building much nicer, help with programming, keep staff on. So not only do we owe them real thanks, which I think that we've covered some of that, and Betty Cavaco, who leads it, has done a ton of work. But we had a conversation about expanding their scope and maybe not looking at just Manomet Youth Center now because they've had successes, but looking at our youth in general in Plymouth and what other after-school activities. So specifically, I'm talking about fields. One of the things that we've talked about in Plymouth is a long time is we have this great facility at Forges Field, but we have an opportunity to expand there. So I spoke to Betty about it just initially, and she expressed some interest because that's really, I think, a passion of hers is the Plymouth youth and what can we do to expand the actual building of fields and make them more available.
That's great.
I think so too. I hope it happens.
That's great. So all different kinds of sports too? I mean, or is it
So when I spoke to the recreation director, she said that they have the most demand for an all-purpose field.
Oh, okay.
And then possibly a soccer field, although maybe something else. So I don't think we've determined that yet. I'll be sitting down with the Friends president sometime in the next week.
Okay.
And then I really need to do a full Forges Field presentation for the public at large because there's a long history here of how we acquired it, what it is meant for, and I think it's time to refresh everybody's memories and then see if we can afford it.
That's great. That's great. Got to support the youth and
I agree.
all the sports. That's wonderful. The water ban, big topic going on here with this drought, which is continuing. We've had a couple of days of rain, but it's just not enough. So what's going on?
It isn't. Particularly, we have some supply issues in West Plymouth because we're trying to balance the need in that area of town as well as the cranberry growers that have some rights for use of that water.
Okay.
So we can only run that Darby well so many hours a day under restrictions that we have. Now, we've partnered, I think, really well with the cranberry growers as well as with DEP. The local Lakeville office has been very good to us. However, they are concerned about our water usage. So we put the initial ban on. We saw a reduction of about 1 million gallons a day.
Okay.
And it's almost unbelievable to think that in Plymouth you can have a demand of 7 million gallons a day. So we're able to lower that
7 million
down.
gallons
Really.
a day.
And we have the capacity, but our own infrastructure sometimes leads to a problem, particularly in that area. So if we have to take this Darby well offline, then we're running 2 other pumps, one in North Plymouth, one downtown, at different locations and bringing it up to West Plymouth. Now, we all know when you're running equipment all the time like that to meet the demand, you start to worry about if that equipment has a failure. Now what do you do?
Right.
How do you actually supply that area of town? So it's been a real tricky balance for us this year. Doesn't usually happen to us this strongly. So we are hopeful for some rain because we know that there's frustration in the public that they'd like to see us lift that ban, and we're trying to.
But it's great that people are responding to it and following, you know, the direction and everything. And I know my grass is completely brown, and
I've heard that.
and
yes.
it's sad to look around. But I do have to say, and I'm not going to name any places, but I do drive through town, and there's certain places, even in West Plymouth, the industrial type areas that you see their sprinklers. And do they have a different setup? And
they do. So
Okay.
a lot of them have their own wells that they're pumping from. So it's still coming from our overall usage in the aquifer, but it's not coming from what we're trying to do, which
Okay.
is a public water supply and demand. However, I will tell you in Plymouth, it doesn't surprise me, but there are people that watch for that. They write down the address, they email us. So,
so there
even
is
as of this morning, I had the health department checking on 16 different locations from North Plymouth through to West Plymouth
Really
on
good.
if these people have private wells. So
Okay.
I have to tell you, almost every time we have checked, they do.
They do
They're
have
pretty
private wells.
responsible.
Yeah, because you can just drive down, you see green grass.
Yeah,
brown
I
grass, green grass, and you're like, okay, I don't. So it's good. Just wanted to clarify that because it's hard when you see that when you're trying to comply, your grass is completely brown, or or you see it, driving through a certain areas of town, and the bigger industrial areas are watering their grass, and you're like, I don't get it.
And that might change in the future as the state regulations as well as the federal guidelines get stricter, not just about what we're using and pumping, but what we're literally pulling from our own aquifer
So even if
system.
they have their own well, it's still pulling from that,
It is.
and they are going to, perhaps in a severe drought as we're in, may have to change some of those rules.
I think as regulations change in the future, Plymouth is going to be restricted on how much we can pull, and it will affect them also.
Okay. We have about 1 minute left.
Okay.
Do you want to touch on the budget real quick?
Early stage of the budget process. For the last few weeks, I have presented to the Board of Selectmen what I would love to see as some new initiatives. We're not sure we can afford that yet, but those would include areas that look at recreation, including the fields, some beautification. We still have 36 town-owned buildings, so even as we think about moving into a new town hall, we need to do a better job taking care of the buildings we have. So I'll again be looking at some kind of facility management. We paid all that money for a study. I think that we need to use it. So I'm trying to keep my concerns right around enjoying what we already have here in Plymouth. And that includes some kind of seasonal litter crew that literally we assign to a different section of town every day during the, maybe not every day, but 5 days a week during the summer season, and they deal with graffiti and litter and cleanup. I'm hoping that we'll be able to establish that.
That would be a great program.
I agree.
To keep the tourism and the residents happy with their beautiful town. Thank you for coming on, as always, and great information. Thanks for watching tonight. Replay times are listed at our website, PACTV.org, or you can find us on YouTube. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter for previews, links, and behind-the-scene information. PCN and PCN Life are back next Thursday with more local stories. Have a great week.